morning. I'm John Tracy, and I hope wherever you're at this morning that this finds you doing well, resting in the promises and the peace of God. And I'm just out here in God's creation, enjoying a little piece of paradise that He's provided for us in Odessa, Florida, and thinking a lot about what God's been teaching me lately. And one of those topics would be this whole thing about waiting on Him. And like even when I bring it up, I start getting a little antsy about waiting, and it makes me wonder how you feel about waiting. Isn't it true that we're all stuck in a season of waiting right now, whether we like it or not? Sheltering at home, waiting to see if we're allowed to go outside and play today, waiting to see if our jobs are still going to be there when this is all over, and if our income is going to recover. Maybe find yourself waiting in longer than usual lines at the grocery store or at the carry-out restaurant. I'm still waiting for my stimulus check to come from the government. As a pastor, waiting to see when is the right time for us to regather in person as a church family. But frankly, just waiting for life to get back to normal. On and on, just waiting. And I gotta be honest, waiting just isn't my favorite. I really don't like it at all. And even before this COVID-19 stuff hit, I'd have to say that's always been true. Like when I show up at the doctor's office and I was there on time, but now I gotta wait, not my favorite. Or waiting, for somebody to hurry up who's making me late while I wait in the car for them. Or waiting for that phone call to see if the news is gonna be a good prognosis or a bad one. Or maybe the worst, waiting in traffic. Can you relate? Waiting, on and on. And I think the reason I don't like it so much is just because I would like to believe that I'm super efficient with my time and my schedule, and that my plans and all the things I got to do are just super important. And so wasting time is one of those things that just seriously irritates me. And somebody else wasting my time, I mean, that can be enough to just put me over the edge. But here's the thing, and maybe this will help you too. Lately, the Lord's been reminding me that waiting is actually a pretty significant requirement for every single believer who would faithfully follow the Lord Jesus Christ. Like it or not, that's true. In fact, over and over in the Bible, we are instructed time and time again to wait for the Lord. Let me read a few passages for you. Isaiah 40:31, but they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Or how about Lamentations 3:25? The Lord is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. Psalm 37:7 says, be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. You see? It's just there over and over again in the scriptures. Wait for the Lord. Wait on God. Wait for Him. He must like it when we wait. And it seems like it's pretty much always been that way for the children of God. If you think back to the Old Testament, remember Abraham and Sarah? They had to wait, literally decades for their promised son to be delivered, Isaac, that God had promised. Or the children of Israel, who had to wait centuries before finally being delivered from Egypt, and then they had to wait another 40 years after that to get into that land that had been promised to them by God. How about all the generations of people and prophets and kings waiting with anticipation on the promised Messiah to come and rescue them, to deliver them? And for that matter, every single believer living today, aren't we still waiting with anticipation for the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ? It would seem that waiting is really something that ought not to surprise us. It's just part of having a relationship with the Lord. And so that causes me to wonder, why has God ordained it to be such? Why does He want it to be this way? And maybe you find yourself in a particularly difficult season of waiting right now. Waiting on God to deliver you from suffering or pain, or to bring a prodigal home, or to heal, or to reveal much needed wisdom, or to provide in some way. So if you're facing just a hard season of waiting right now, I want you to know God intends to use this season of waiting in your life, just like He does in mine. First of all, it humbles us, doesn't it? Having to wait. That always happens. As much as I'd like to think that I'm in control of the timeline of my life, waiting reminds me that nothing could actually be further from the truth. And God knows that I need to regularly be brought back to the reality that I'm not in charge, but actually He is fully in charge of everything going on in my life. And His plan and timing is always what's best for me. Think about Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him. And what will happen? He will make straight your paths. Waiting on the Lord's understanding, on His wisdom. I mean, I definitely need more of that. Don't you? And that's precisely, I believe, why He puts us in seasons of waiting, to humble us and to cause us to depend on Him, to lean hard on His understanding. That's the point. Waiting reminds us that there's somebody stronger and wiser than us and our schedules. He's God, we're not. But not only that, I've also found that there's another thing that happens typically when I have to wait. God intends to use it also to reveal things about me that I probably wouldn't see otherwise. He brings out into the surface the condition of my heart. Often I get really irritable when I have to wait, or rude. I have a tendency to get upset and really focused on myself and my plans instead of serving others and serving the Lord and helping others' needs. It really is often waiting the thing that God uses to shine a bright light on the dark sin of my own heart. That's why Psalm 37 verse 7 says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for Him. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way, over the man who carries out evil devices. Refrain from anger, forsake wrath, fret not yourself. It tends only to evil, for the evildoer shall be cut off. But those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land." You see, the psalmist knew that while he was waiting on the Lord, he was super vulnerable to fret and to get angry and to get irritated. And so if you're in a season of waiting right now, be on guard to protect your heart and to discipline your mind and your thoughts from giving in to those destructive and sinful thoughts toward God and toward other people. Waiting is hard, but it is used by God to humble us and to reveal our hearts. But another thing you should know, God intends to use seasons of waiting also to produce growth in my life. In other words, as hard as it is to have to wait, it can actually be incredibly rewarding for the Christian. So as it says in Psalm chapter 27, verse 14, "Wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage." God never wastes our waiting. It's not like He's procrastinating or like He's just frivolously dragging His feet to get things done. He's actually working in the waiting. And He isn't just interested in getting you and me through the season of waiting, to actually latch on to whatever it is we're hoping we're going to get on the other side. We have to understand God is exceedingly interested in who I am becoming while I lie in wait. He wants to change me while I'm experiencing the delay. It's on purpose. He wants me to grow. It's like He's saying, hey, all those plans that you think are so important in your life? We're just going to put a hold on all that for now so we can work on you and your heart a little bit. Romans 5 addresses this in verses 3 and 4 when it says, "Suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character, and character produces hope." Seasons of waiting are just such huge opportunities to grow in the midst of the waiting. But one last thing that comes to mind, and I want this to really encourage you this morning, no matter how long you have to wait, waiting really is temporary. It is. You need to know that. It may seem like you have to wait forever, but that's just not true. Things will not always be as they are right now. And you will get through this, friend. You won't always be living in this current season that you're facing as a child of God. It will come to a definitive end. And I'm telling you, there is just so much encouragement in remembering this. According to Revelation 21, we've been studying that at Keystone. One day, the former things will pass away, and that includes all of the seasons of waiting. But in the meantime, God intends to use waiting to give us a holy dissatisfaction with this world and to cause us to long even more deeply for the next one. And so whatever you do, as you wait, don't give up. Don't lose heart. Don't give in to despair. This is all going to soon be over. I love what David says in Psalm 27:13. He says, "I would have despaired unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." So wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Yes, he says, wait for the Lord. So the next time you have to wait on someone or something, wait on God. Remember, that's actually a beautiful gift from a gracious God who loves you and is in charge of every single moment of your life. And he's designed this season of waiting for your good. Thanks for spending some time in the Word with me this morning. I hope I've had the opportunity to encourage you, and I look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday for Midweek